earliest ages that you live on a spinning ball, that NASA has sent men to the moon. And you are the result of a Big Bang explosion which created everything out of nothing. Yet nothing could be farther from the truth. From the truth. The pictures and videos presented to the public by NASA and other government space agencies are as real as a Hollywood motion picture and as scientific as science fiction.
2 minutes. Chris Hadfield, welcome back to Studio 57.
Thank you for
First
the
of
invitation.
all, thank you, because this
So generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous to see. So generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous to see. It's just flat and gorgeous to see. It's just flat and gorgeous to see.
What did you think of the movie Gravity?
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. Gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped. 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 Pear-shaped.
Back to 1947, our original problem was at the end of World War II, Germany knew they were going to lose. So they came over to the U.S. with a proposition. They knew that we were trying to build a bomb, but the only thing we couldn't fabricate, was plutonium. They were trying to build an atomic bomb themselves, but the only thing they could do was make the plutonium. They couldn't do the trigger, all the rest of the component, the atomic bomb.
The Nazis.
The Nazis. Mm-hmm. So they came to us and they said, we'll give you the plutonium you need to finish your bomb and bomb Japan. All we ask is at the end of the war, you let 4,000 Nazis in your country paperwork free. They get to stay there forever. And so we agreed to that, and it was called Project Paperclip. It was managed by John Foster Dulles, who was the Secretary of State, Allen Dulles, his brother who ran the CIA, and Eleanor Dulles, their sister, who was head of the Berlin desk, U.S. Berlin desk in Berlin. And between them, between the three of them, they led in 4,000 Nazis who immediately infiltrated the United States and began a takeover. The first thing they did is they took over NACA, NACA, and made it NASA. They took over that hook, line, and sinker, the whole thing. And then they took over Bell Helicopter. That's why we had the Viennese Wars, was merely to sell Bell Helicopters to get more money for the Nazi infiltration. So they started to take over and completed it probably in the 60s. They were the ones that decided to fake the moon landings. Now, the moon landings had to be faked because there's no possible way that we could get through the Van Allen belt. General Van Allen sent 3 rockets up in 1959 strictly to measure the radiation. One of them didn't work, but the other 2 returned and showed that there was massive radiation around the Earth. Now, E.T. put that radiation there for one specific reason, and that was to keep Earth people from going anywhere in space until they were sufficiently educated and knew how to conduct themselves in space without trying to bomb everybody in the on the outside. They didn't want it on Mars. They didn't want it anywhere.
So you're saying that aliens or ETs put that Van Allen belt around the Earth?
Absolutely, positively.
What kind of evidence or proof or what led you to believe that is so?
Well, we didn't do it. So it had to be somebody else.
It couldn't be a natural thing, a natural radiation belt.
No.
In a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it.
Your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. The Earth is a closed system.
The Earth is a closed system.
We cannot leave the Earth.
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 The Earth is a closed.
24 October 1946. The first photograph taken from space. That's the picture to the right. Here's the same picture. I blew it up for you guys. Now, again, I don't see a curve. It could be the way the camera was tilted. So if you go like this, that's a space photo, guys. Do you see a curve? I know most of you probably know a lot, but this is kind of a introduction without jumping off the deep end, but there might be some information that some of you may not know. This is the X-15. Technically, it was not a actual aircraft because it was taken up by a mothership. It was more or less of a rocket, but a human was on board. So the X-15 hypersonic rocket set speed and altitude records in the 1960s, reaching the edge of outer space Mach 6.7 at 102,000 feet, folks. 102,000 feet. Speed of 4,520 miles per hour. I'm about to show you actual video.
That day was to test the X-15's new control system.
So the X-15's right there. It's on the mothership.
When he separated from the wing of a B-52, Armstrong fired his engine.
Right there, folks. Again. Does that look like a ball to you? This is actual footage. There's no curve. None.
He accelerated at more than 5 times the speed of sound, reaching altitudes exceeding 200,000 feet. His control was good. But when he burned up all his fuel and was beginning his
zero curve.
Full descent, the nose of his X-15 was still pointing up, which caused it to bounce off the atmosphere, throwing Armstrong nearly 50 miles off his intended course of Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California. The dry lake bed at Edwards was Armstrong's only option for a safe landing.
So guys, I have a drone. I've been in many different helicopters. And again, I'm fascinated with space. I just want to, a lot of people say they see the curve. 2 ways to see the curve if you Google it. A, go to the beach and the ship will disappear from the hull first. Or B, a airliner. I just want to show you guys. This is sea level. Look at that curve. Whenever you see a curve, folks, It's a fisheye lens. It's a fisheye lens. Again, a kayaker at sea level. Look at that curve at sea level. Now this is, it's called a journey around Earth in 4K. So looks beautiful. The only thing, fisheye lens. As real as it looks, because it is real, but it has a fisheye lens, folks. Now this is something that anybody could do. Helium in a balloon without a fisheye lens. This is one of the highest private flights, 121,000 feet. 121,000 feet. That's the highest that I've ever seen. Typically they go around 100,000. This is 121,000 feet. Without a fisheye lens. Just like you saw on the first rocket. Just like you saw on the first manned space flight that bounced off the atmosphere.